And the chat's not working. Woo! Hello, Annika, Vio, and Angel. How are you all doing? We're here for a good time. It's the end of the year. I hope everyone has had a good set of holidays or holidays to come. Let's go, books. Let me enlighten you on books. Hello, Sand. I thought you said goodnight earlier. Yeah, I know, chat. What's hey? It's been working the past couple times. Don't come at me. Gosh, there's so many ads. I'm gonna have to put so many bang boos all over the place. Alrighty. I hope that's everything. How do other people cover it up? Like, how do they... Maybe I have to get, like, an ad blocker. No. Can I just report ads? I have your notifications on, so thus I'm awoken for books. Thanks for turning my notifications on. I hope everyone has had a totally stress-free time. You know, it's probably better if I did this in, like, I don't know, something, some better program than just online. But it's fine. Normal people would probably use an ad block. Yeah. The Freudian slip, one might say. So let me get to butchering this. I'm actually not even going to switch. I'm going to try to place a bang boo everywhere. And duplicate. And duplicate. And duplicate. Okay. There's one. He's so much larger than I thought he was going to be. Okay. We need one right here. We need one across the top. Can I rotate you? No. So we get feet. Look at this high class, high production value content. And then there's one right here. Can I flip you? Transform. Vertical. No. You know, actually, that'll work. And then I can just come here. There we go. And I can just drag him like right there. And so now this looks so stupid. Oh, okay, come down here a little bit. You're turning sideways. Rotate 90 degrees. Actually, I want you to rotate another. If IU was awake to see what horrible things we're doing, I'll turn you right here. There we go. There we go. This is, oh, slide you right there. So if I turn you on your side, now, the other way. I can never do it the right way the first time. If you right click the ad, press inspect, scroll down till you see the ooh. Oh. And then scroll down until I see the div. Uh-huh. And then delete it. There's a lot of div. Delete all the divs. Delete. Oh my gosh. You're a genius. Delete. Ash, enjoy this right now. That I have called you a genius. What am I looking at? Dude, I don't even know. I'm deleting ads one by one until they all go away. Okay, we're working on it. It's almost there. Delete. Ah, it's gorgeous. No, it came back. This one. And this one. And this one. There's so many ads. Who are you? Okay. And now you can all go away. Oh, not me. You three can go away. Nah! Come back, Maharaga. They're resilient. This one. And this one. And this one. And this one. Oh. Oh my gosh. See, if I just zoom in, the ad gets bigger too. Try deleting the div a little bit lower. Let me summon this Bangbu again. So you don't see that. I'm deleting them all. Maybe this one. Okay. We're in business. You know, I probably could just stream that part of the screen, but I don't know how to do that yet. We'll get there. I was also looking into getting like royalty-free music, and then I forgot. So, we're going to sit here in silence. You can listen to your own music during this, and we'll get there when we get there. How are you all doing? Hi. Alright. Let's get this party started. Not a moment too late, am I right? I'm going to keep all the mangas and whatnot later. I'm going to put this towards the bottom too. I could play with the drums. I'm putting on Miku. Put on Miku. Do I have a song playing right now? There it is. I think there's a little bit of something right now. But I don't know if this is the song that has the stuff at the beginning. It doesn't matter. Anyway. We're gonna organize this. Hi, production people. Hi, production. Alright. Tried to drown out my Miku. No. Just a little bit. just have a tiny, tiny bit, you know? Nothing too constant. All right, let's start. I don't know how loud it is. I don't know if I should turn it down or up. We'll figure this all out eventually. Anyway, I'm gonna yap about them. We're gonna give them scores. I'll explain my scores. I am going to avoid spoilers. The penguin manga is right here. By my head. I'm going to avoid spoilers as much as I can. But I will give, like, synopsis to each of the stories. Man. So, you know, whatever happens, happens. You'll get the gist of the book one way or another. I will tell you my gripes with it. I'll tell you what everything's good about it is, you know? And you just have to sit back there and not do anything. What a time. They've changed the website a little bit. There's different colors now. They're not all as muddy and disgusting as they used to be. And there actually follows a pretty good flow. Okay. So, we'll start with Battle Royale. I think this was the first book I read this year. What are you doing here? I'm not seeing the Bible, Ash's favorite book. You're not seeing the 4 agreements or the D&D player's handbook or... Ash, what was the other one? Waking something? Something? Tree something? I don't know. Ew, why is purple such a low score? Because that's how the thing organizes it. Because it goes from warm tones to cool tones. Battle Royale! The OG... I'm gonna just put it in right here for the time being as I yap around it. Oh my gosh. Name my 4 favorite books. Ash. I'm just gonna put it right here until I decide where I'm gonna put it. And then I'm probably gonna shift things around as well. Make the top one pink. There you go. It's gonna haunt him forever. Name the top, my top 4 books. No. Battle Royale, OG Hunger Games. Came out, I think it was written in 1998 or something like that, and got a movie. I haven't seen the movie yet. It's kind of a huge book. It's like 600 something pages. Whole bunch of kids are on a bus, and they all get they get put to sleep. And then they wake up in a classroom, and they're weird guys there because he's the announcer of this weird game where all these kids have to be on an island and they have to eliminate each other because Japan's government says we need the population to get a little bit lower, and so everyone's gonna start hunting each other. And then everyone has explosive collars on that if they go to other places that they shouldn't, or like try to swim away, it explodes and they lose their head. And it's gruesome. It was disgusting. There was some deaths in there that were straight nasty. I think at one point they killed his like teacher, and it described the body as spilling out of a body bag, like liquid spill. I was like, how about that? And that man is in pieces all over the floor in front of these poor kids, and that guy's head just exploded. But it goes through all the different points of views of all these kids, and it's like it gets real sad at some points because you get to some kids who are just like thinking about their idols, like their pop idols and their crushes, and some kids, jumping into the water as a lover's dual death. I'm trying to avoid the words. uh, but the main character is fine. He's kind of boring. He's very much a self-insert, so bland kind of guy. But the second and third main characters are far more interesting, and I have enjoyed their presence a lot more. They were a little more crafty. There was a lot of cool scenes and a lot of good setup of just how the mania has its effect on people. Without getting into too much. But you do get to get into the heads of all of these kids and see like how the game changes them. And man, when I tell you, it does not spare you. It's not playing favorites, that's for sure. So I think at the time when I was picking up reading again, it seemed a lot higher than it should be. I think I put it as an 8 back then. And while it's still a pretty good story, it's still well written. You still get a lot of emotion from it. It's not like exceptional by any means. It's good. It's better than other things I've read. But it's not like it's not it's not doing anything different. Whatever. It came out 26 years ago. I don't know. Would I put it here? No. I'll put it here. I'll put it as a 7. I'm not explaining half the storyline. I'm not saying who dies. I'm not giving you any plot. I'm just saying it gets into some stuff. And like everyone getting onto the island happens in the first like 10 pages. I'm not saying who wins. Earthlings. Sayaka Murata. She's an exceptional writer, truly. Tell us who dies. Shinji. She's a really good writer. She conveys what she's trying to tell you well, and she makes it fluid. Although this is probably one of the darkest books I've read. Oh, I can't talk a lot about that though. It was rough. I had faces that I cannot control while reading this. Not in like it's no, who's gonna crank that Soldier Boy now? I know. It's not it's not due to like the bad writing, because like how visceral and how damning it was. Question, right, man? What's your question, Annika? But she is able to tell this story and like have these effects of. Did you prep anything for the stream? Yes. I just didn't get the ads gone. What do you want from me? I went and got all these pictures and I made sure that they worked because a lot of these pictures suck. My headset, my headset died. That's gonna keep happening because I'm not hearing anything. Like how you're gonna rate each one. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna prep that. I didn't want to prep that because I want my thoughts during now to tell me where I'm gonna put it. I want the thought process out in the open. And I'm just telling you how it is. And I'm convincing myself where I should put this. But it's a good read. It talks a lot about trauma and its effects on people, especially from kids to adults. Although it's got a real weird ending that I still don't really understand. Man. I definitely enjoyed Battle Royale more, but I think Earthlings is worth a lot more than Battle Royale. And how do I want to rate this? Do I want to rate it by how much it's worth or how much I enjoy it? Probably by enjoying it. But I still do think it's a solid 7. I think it fits in here. Good points, writes well, cool messaging. I guess that's it. No. It's weighty. Bad points. At the very, very end, she writes so ambiguously and vague that I didn't know what was going on. So yeah, it definitely gets below Battle Royale. You're gonna do a stream rating shows and movies too. I haven't watched that many shows or movies this year. I opt for reading and gaming a lot more than movies. Maybe I'll look into it for next year and like try to read and watch more. But I have failed to fill that criteria, unfortunately. Neuromancer. Wintermute is from here, and if you watched that, the favorites stream, Wintermute is a favorite villain at the moment. Made you watch a few? You did. But like I've only watched like maybe 15 anime this year. I've watched maybe like 4 movies this year. So I guess it's about 20. And that makes sense, you know. I have 33 here, never mind. So it'd be somewhere around here, from here to here. So I don't think there'd be enough. I could do a little video about that and edit that. Do I like open endings better? I do tend to like open endings. I like the ambiguous nature of a lot of things. But where it's like I understand where that ambiguity is supposed to come from. Like I want to theorize what the characters will do afterwards rather than what just happened. And not in like a shock and awe, but like a genuinely trying to figure out what just happened. Like Neuromancer has a very ambiguous ending. It doesn't really give you a conclusion to any of the characters. It concludes the story, although the characters are still very much doing something. They still have lives to be fulfilled. I thought it was written interestingly. It was written in 1986 by William Gibson, who's very ahead of his time in terms of writing. Like I felt like I was reading a very modern book, as if it could be written sometime in the 20s, 2020s, or even like 2010s. A lot of his work is the foundation for cyberpunk genres and Cyberpunk 2077 as a whole. They're even named Night City in both of them, and there's even more similarities of like specifics on that. And so he was thinking way ahead. He had a lot of cool ideas. Though when he wrote, it was very sudden, it was very abrupt. Like one of the deaths in the book was, and then the microplane took the top of his head off. I'm like, okay. There was no build up to that. He was just walking, and then it happened. Everyone was just walking around, and then the microplane took the top of his head off. What? What do you mean it took the top of his head off? And then it didn't even like clarify afterwards. Another death was, and then the gardening machine got him. And like it sounds stupid in the as I say it right now. It was cool in the moment because it was just so simple, so cold. There was no passion in the kill, and that was reflective because it's a machine. But it was not really unsatisfying, just you had to sit and process it for a lot longer. And he does that for a lot of things. He does a lot of you need to interpret every action that's happening. It's like he's telling the story from the environment's point of view, which is interesting. I give him props for that, but I think it could be written better. I think the idea of the story was cool because it's a whole bunch of people going on a heist in a weird space station, collecting a whole bunch of different like bounty hunter esque people going around, whatever. Neuromancer and Wintermute are very cool antagonists, where they're omnipresent, not quite truly powerful creatures, but cool. Just the way he wrote it killed it a little bit for me. But the ideas are enough to sustain it. Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation. I have thoughts. Yeah, probably somewhere around 5. Whole bunch of scientists go into this weird, spooky area. A whole bunch of weird things are happening. Radio signals are cut off. Not a lot is known. There's only like 4 expeditions that are sent in. Our main character is one of this 4 group. Her husband was in the last group. She's trying to find him, although they didn't particularly love each other. And it's just odd. Nothing's quite right. It's cosmic horror. It does that pretty well. It's not describing anything perfectly, but it's describing it enough for you to be confused. Not confused in a bad way of like what's actually going on, but more of why. Why is this happening? What do you mean? What is this? Why? Why? What do you mean the fungus is writing words on the wall and then erasing itself? What do you mean the giant cylinder in the ground, you're calling it a tower because it feels right? Like things just feel off. And that's cool. Though the main character, because it's written as if it's a journal, because they're supposed to be journaling as they're going into this area X. And so the main character writes it such, and so you get how she would write, and she's an unreliable narrator as well. But also, she's the most bland, basic. Not basic, gosh. She's monotone. She's nothing. It's like she's got no emotions. It's completely devoid of anything passion. Which I guess is the character, but I don't want to have that character's perspective. At least written in that way. It's imperative that the cylinder remain intact. Oh, sand. So, like, I'm fine with having that kind of character. I'm fine with having the kind of journal-esque nature of a book. But when you put them together, you have a monotone character writing a very basic outline of what's happening. And that just makes it for a very boring time. The person whose lens you're seeing everything through sees it in shades of gray. Everything is bleak and boring in her vision. And so I just couldn't get into it. I am interested in the rest of the series because I know it has more weirdness and spookiness going on with it. But I just I've got to figure out a way to make this headset not turn off. Uh, yeah, that's that. So I think a 5 is fine. He's got good ideas. It could be executed far better. You ever consider writing a book? No, I'm terrible at writing stories. I was okay in my creative writing class, though I far rather world build and create civilizations and whatever. I also do have my did not finish in this list, that's correct. But no, I can't really create characters in a compelling way because I need to connect with them personally, and I can't do that. I have a hard time joining myself in fiction. Martha Wells. All systems red. Point of view of a security robot in this little survey group going down to some planet. But things are going wrong. Things are being a little weird. Their stuff's being destroyed. Their map is incomplete. They are suspecting that there's some kind of internal sabotage. And it's about this robot's perspective of someone who does not care, but has also broken out of their governing module, as they called it, so that she can act on her own rather than having to follow every single order. So she's far more of a human than she is of a robot. Cool idea. And really fell flat. I think they were really trying to set up the rest of the series, and it just. I could not care less with this character. She's not cool enough. She hasn't been interesting. She's left everything behind. It's like I'm trying to. They want you to follow a character into a new story when this character is just lazy and just wanting to watch TV all the time, which, like, sure, relatable. That's not the kind of character you want for a protagonist. And like all of the other characters that had some level of personality, she left behind. So I don't particularly care, and there's no story that's continuing from this book to the next books. It's a cool idea, a cool point of view, but just nothing fulfilling. It's popcorn. Now we get to something good. We have The Thief by Fuminori Nakamura. I already know I'm putting it here. Super short book. It's like less than 200 pages. And it has quite big spacing between its lines. He writes in such a black and white point of view. It's just like he's describing actions happening without any kind of personal attachment to them. And while you do get into this character's, it is first person, and you do get into it, how they think. He thinks in very black and not like black and white in the sense of this is right, this is wrong, but it's just so clear and evident what is being said is being written. But you also have to think what are the actions amounting to? Why is this like this? Why is this man doing this specific action? What has caused him to do that? And so it's so I relate it to Ryan Gosling bleeding out on the snow-covered stairs in Blade Runner 2049. It's so cold and empty and hollow in a good way. And then you get to the villain, who is one of the most wretched people. It is hell. And so I think the villain is a perfect antagonist. This passionate and diabolical guy, contrasting this pretty solidified in his thinking man. I think it's worth the read for sure. Nakamura's other book that I read this year is also in here. It's not going to get nearly as much praise. So they tried making a side character, main character. Yeah. Yeah, All Systems Red was not great. Very bland character. Well, not bland. They had their personality traits, but they were not a dynamic character. They're quite static indeed. Have I read No Longer Human? I read Junji Ito's mangatization of No Longer Human, and it took me a long time to read through that one because of how bleak it was. But I did enjoy it. I think it's a story worth reading, though it's not something you would read for standard entertainment. It's reading it to experience something, which we'll get into later, actually. But I did enjoy it. King in Yellow! I'm kind of tempted to put it lower. So while William Gibson wrote kind of poorly and very ambiguous and sudden, Robert W. Chambers, written in 1896, I think, does all of that without the super cool ideas that William Gibson had. While Robert does write ahead of his time as well, it's 10 short stories. Each of them is supposed to be about The King in Yellow, which is a play set in this world about, when you read it, you go crazy. And so the first one is very evident of that. The second one, The King in Yellow, gets mentioned. The third one and the fourth one, you can tell are connected to the King in Yellow play because in the previous stories it talks about stuff. Though the King in Yellow is never mentioned. And then the fifth story on, the King in Yellow is never mentioned. And they're not even set in the same world. The other 6 stories have nothing to do with the King in Yellow. I don't know why they're a part of the book, and I think it's stupid. And the way he wrote was just so hard to follow, so hard to trudge through. The first one was great. The first story, wonderful. I loved all the characters, and you can see the insanity brewing in their minds. You can see this world, and you can see how something affects them, and you see how this play, breeds hubris. And the second was also cool. You can see that, while it was the first one, the main character was the one who read The King in Yellow. You can interpret that one of the side characters was the one who read The King in Yellow. And you can see how they fall into madness from another end. But then the third and the fourth, you lose that plot, and then again, 5 on, absolutely nothing. So it lost its own identity. It was difficult to read. None of the things went together. I did not enjoy it. I haven't read the manga. The book is in my top 3 for sure. That makes sense. I'm scared to ask which your other one is because I have no mouth and I must scream and No Longer Human. So what's the third one? what's the trinity to this diabolical setup? Oh, here we go. No coincidence. Even worse. This is the one I ranted about sometime in a stream. This is the one that is actually cyberpunk. So it has the same ideas as Neuromancer, except it has 11 points of view, and it changes its points of view every 1 to 2 times per page. And it doesn't tell you when it switches its point of view to who it switches to. So, and also the characters are not likable whatsoever. So you have bad characters, you have awful storytelling, you have 11 bad characters that it goes through. The plot is not something you can ever get invested into because there's a billion and one different things happening. The world building is the only thing that's good, and it's not to this author's credit because the world building has already happened. I feel so bad like ripping someone else's book apart. It's giving Wattpad, exactly. I feel bad ripping someone else's book apart, but maybe some some criticism could help. I keep accidentally dozing off. Don't worry, it's a chill stream. Doze off whenever you want. Fear not. You do you, Chief. Anyway, no coincidence. Straight ass. So this is a did not finish Water Moon, which I think I would put in the same field. This is a romantasy title. It started cool. It started Studio Ghibli-esque. Hey, back in my Wattpad days, I was not doing that. I think some others were probably doing that. You probably did great. By Samantha, I think it's Soto. I don't know. I can't read that. It's a romantasy title. It starts out with, a pawn shop that you can't get to. Like, they share a same door and a same space in the same area and space as this ramen shop. So when someone enters the ramen shop, if whatever spirits or gods or universe decides to put them inside of this pawn shop instead, it makes it happen. So instead of walking into this ramen, they walk into the pawn shop. And the pawn shop deals in choices and regrets and things like that. One of the examples in the beginning, some woman is in a loveless marriage, and it would be easier for her to be in that loveless marriage if she did not love previously. There was someone else she loved. And so what she gives up is the exact amount of change for the bus fare to get to this guy that she loved place. And in return, she no longer has that memory. She forgets about him, loses all attachment to it. She can go back to her loveless marriage, not knowing what love is, so that she can have an easier time with it. And so it's this kind of depressing, kind of sad, like trying to save other people by removing their choices or their idea of choices. And then the grandpa who runs it dies, and it gets passed on to his granddaughter, and her mom is out there somewhere dead, maybe because she made a weird choice with some spirits, and some guy comes through the pawn shop and everything's a wreck, and he's like, oh, I have to save this poor girl whose pawn shop got destroyed because everything's a wreck right now. And I've immediately fallen in love with her, and we go into this spirit world, and this entire place is made of like parchment paper, and everything is written as if it's like a parchment drawing story, and it's super cool, and she's got like glowing runes on her, whatever. And I can only look at her because she's the most beautiful thing ever in the world. I'm like, you have known her for an hour. You have said you would die for her. You have known her for an hour. She doesn't even like you, bro. It does not feel like she likes him in the slightest. The romance is incredibly artificial. It feels so forced. If they just focused on this like mystical whimsy fantasy, it would have been so much better. But they had to shoehorn this awful romance into it. So I did not finish it. I got about halfway through and I stopped. And apparently it gets worse. She missed us talking about Wattpad. Well, Ratman recounts an absolutely terrifying scene from a book. Exactly. Awful. Next, 100 Years of Solitude. I'd put it right there. At 5. It's good. Talks about the tragedy of colonizing and all that, and innovation coming to a place that didn't want it, outside forces causing places to change, and become and like lose their identity, become wrong. And the whole part of it is sad for the idea that you don't get to keep what you were born with. And it goes through generations. And then you see how this town, because it takes place in this singular town loses its identity over the years as trains come through and uh, sick children come in and bring diseases, and outsiders come in and trade and bring new things to the thing, and blah 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 blah. Outside bad, inside lose its purpose. And it's this kind of exhausting book to read because it goes through tragedy and tragedy and tragedy and tragedy and tragedy and over and over and over and over and over. And it's a trudge to get through. But at the end, you're like, ugh, that makes sense. That's what it's like. It is all of that awfulness. It is all of that terror and change and exhaustion. Is Ratman a Wattpad enjoyer? I was a part of Wattpad when I was like 14. I don't remember much. I think I read a Sword Art Online fan fiction, and that's about it. Jim Butcher! Stormfront. I hate to say it, it's above these two. This was written in 2001. I could read now. The about the author is the dumbest thing. It says like he's a martial arts enthusiast, not a martial artist, just an enthusiast about it. And he's got to talk to the voices in his head that tell him to do this, and things are just too normal for Jim Butcher, so he has to write down his imaginary friends. I'm like, oh my gosh. Basically, it's about a wizard in Chicago dealing with magical threats in the modern age, which could be done well. I fully give him credit. There are things that he came up with that, should they have been written well, would have been a good story. But it's written like a CW garbage ass terrible plot line like The Flash, where they have their lightning swords out and they do a little lightsaber battle, and oh, this character dies. Oh no, they didn't. They get saved this way. Oh, here's this loophole. I'm like, commit to something. Just do something, please. Anything not predictable. But what's even worse, he gives such 2001 white conservative hardcore alt-right man, which just, oh yeah, my name is Henry Copperfield Blackstone Dresden, and all these women love me, and I'm just so good with them, and I'm tall, and I'm broad framed, and I have sharp features and a hawk's nose, and this guy's not as tall as me, and my enemy detective is a short, fat, sloppy man with food stains on his shirt, and he's got a weak chin, and just the dumbest stuff. It's so insecure and toxic masculinity. It was, oh my gosh. It was so dumb. But he had some good ideas. It could have been cool. The plot was basic and boring and ugh. But I mean, I'd be a good literature teacher. I hope. I don't know. I don't know, Chief. Maybe. I don't think I'm well read enough. I have to be a little bit better. Also, I'm not very good at conveying my ideas. My mouth don't work too good. AO3 is far superior, he calls his students. I'll get this fixed one day. Every great teacher calls his students imbeciles now and then. Strange Pictures. We're back to good books. I would put this right here. By Uketsu, who wrote Strange Houses as well, which also has a manga series that was made off of it. But I thought it was a very cool book. Super short. Japanese translated. Basically, there's a little blog post, and some kids find it, and there's like a whole bunch of entries about this guy's life, and then all of a sudden, like, there's a 3-year time skip. Because it's describing how his like wife is pregnant, and he can't wait. He is so excited to have a. Yeah, we do need a dead headset count. He's so excited to have this child, and then it skips through it, and it's like a post saying like, "Oh, I can't forgive you for what you've done, though I still love you." Blah 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 blah. But in those posts before he deleted everything or the time skip, there was a whole bunch of pictures that his wife drew while she was pregnant, and if you put them together and overlap them under like certain things and whatnot, you get pretty grim images in trying to depict what they're saying. And so it goes through this kind of mystery unraveling of how this happens, and these following these trails of murders, and this kind of creepy old woman who's suspicious and all this stuff. There's no real main character, though I think it does switch points of view 4 times, but it doesn't do it like every couple of pages. It's the first quarter of the book, and then the second quarter of the book, and then the third quarter of the book. Changes point of view. I thought it's really well written, conveys its message pretty well, easy to read. I enjoyed it quite a lot. It's not like anything groundbreaking, but it was the first like thriller that was real, just easy and nice to read rather than being like a devastating or like action-packed something. I disagree from our book discussions. I think you're great at putting your thoughts into words. You really helped change my perspective on 5 centimeters per second. I can't wait until we get to that one in here, because I've kept thinking about that. And I try to watch the movie for 5 centimeters per second, and it's so unfortunate that the art's garbage. I'm sad about that. We'll get to that eventually, I guess. Oh, our first nonfiction. I have to put this in 1. This is technically it did not finish. I got about halfway through. By Yeonmi Park, I hope you pronounce it. It's about her escaping, her account of escaping from North Korea, and from when she was growing up, and while she was in China, and then South Korea, and all that. And about halfway through the book, I looked her up online, and I saw how a lot of people are disputing her stories, and how other people who have escaped are like saying, "Oh, it wasn't really like that," and how like even between her own interviews, she doesn't follow the same events. She's not consistent with herself. And so I deemed her an unreliable source, and I would not taint my mind with false information on a real thing happening. So I stopped reading it, and I have to put her in 1 for lack of credibility. I cannot say that she, like, what has happened was, like, what she wrote down was true, but I can't say, I can't prove or disprove it, and I'm not going to put my time and effort into figuring that out. Because, whatever. Hi, Blue! Welcome to the book stream. So it's just she made everything up? I don't think she made everything up. She's got some things that she said that were certifiable. Though, I don't want to take the guessing game of what's true and what's not true. My wife has arrived. All right. Cult X. This is also by Nakamura with The Thief, which we rated so high. I don't like this one though. I'd put it here. In the first, it's 500 pages. In the first 400. Now, I don't even know where to start with this one. It has a really cool premise. It's about two cults. It's called Cult X. About two cults. One which is led by some old little Japanese guy, and he just goes and he meditates in his house, and people see him, and they thought it was weird. And some lady with a bad foot came by and said, "Hey, can I just hang out with you?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And then her foot got better, and so she thinks it's because he's like magical or a god or something like that, and she spread the word that he is. And then other people started coming to him, hanging out with him, started getting healed. And everyone started treating him as like a religious healer, even though he has denied it the entire time. Just saying like, no, you're all just stressed out and your problems are stress based. I'm not healing you. Don't come near me. But like the more he said that, the more people got angry. So now he just allows people to come near him, and he just yaps. He just talks about what he thinks the world is about, like how he's intrigued by the idea of free will or predestination, where if you look at it from a non-religious point of view, saying like the Big Bang happened, everything exploded, particles are moving in their designated directions, everything is going to happen in accordance to that bang, because those particles are going to move, and those particles are going to cause you to think certain things, and how your neurons flow are a result of that. And so every thought you have was destined by the original mathematics and physics of how the world and the universe was created. Everything is just that. But he also believes he have a soul. So his beliefs on the world are odd, different, contradictory to a lot of popular beliefs. Very cool to listen to. The issue is there's about, this book is 500 pages. There's about 250 pages of his lectures in the book, of him yapping about everything, of him just saying, this is what I think is going on. And there's about 200 pages of plot. And so you have to sit and trudge through this completely unrelated, I don't know if it's unrelated. The book makes everything related. It talks about whether everything is free will, or if you're susceptible to quote unquote brainwashing, or being influenced and changing things, or people coming into your lives affect how you do things and act and be and whatever. And if you listen to your cardinal desires or not. That's the overall theme of the book. And like religious and obsession and stuff like that. But boy, could it have been 300 pages, 200 pages, at least 200 pages shorter. Have some lectures in there, they're not all important. I didn't need the backstory of this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. I don't need everything that's going on. There's too much happening here, and not enough of it is important. It's also, I don't recommend this because it is incredibly graphic. It is nasty. I don't have too much of a problem with certain experiences that happen in there, but I know a lot of people do, and I cannot recommend it for that reason. Oh, we're going to save you for later. That's my most recent one. Sun Tzu's Art of War. Good 60 pages. Not gonna lie. Sure, I'll make it a 7. There's a lot of good points of advice in there. You know, strike, be perceived as weak while you're strong, so that people doubt you and you're able to take advantage of that doubt. Or when you're weak, The dead count continues. When you're weak, appear strong so that they don't come after you, so you have time to rebuild, or, use this to your advantage. Use this, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. There's nothing else to it. It's basically a self-help book. Mickey 7. Yeah. Cool ideas. Cloning or whatever. They're on a planet and they're trying to terraform it, colonize it, whatever. There's a whole bunch of big bug monsters. The main character, Mickey, is what's called an expendable, which means he can die, but they can recreate a new body with his memories as long as he uploads it. And so Mickey 7 is the main character because he's the 7th Mickey. It happens in the first 30 pages. I'm not spoiling anything. Another Mickey gets printed because they think he dies in a hole, but a bug comes and saves him and brings him back. And now they're trying to both live because clearly Mickey, the entity, is not immortal and is just being reprinted. And so Mickey 7 is not this immortal guy. Mickey 7 has had a lifespan of about 3 weeks. He just has the memories of Mickey 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so both of them are trying to survive as long as possible. But then that's fine. But Mickey's hobby pastime is learning about history and seeing historical events. And it goes through that all the time. There's a good 50 to 60 pages of that. I'm just world building for no reason. And then all of the characters are unlikable. So it's I like the world building, but it really just seemed like this author was just trying to say hey guys, look at this really cool sci-fi world idea I have. And I'm going to try to shoehorn it into my book instead of being creative about it. Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. I hope I pronounced that right. I had difficulties with this one. But I do think it's around the same thing as 100 Years of Solitude. I liked it more. I would probably put it here. This is another thing about how colonialism bad kind of a thing. But it is able to streamline that idea a lot better and be a lot more apparent with it. It's not trying to hide anything. It's not trying to be this mystical realism kind of a thing. It goes through I forget the exact culture, but an African culture before the white man came down to colonize, going through their day-to-day life and experiencing everything there and seeing their traditions and their festivals and their family culture and whatnot. And then the main guy goes away for 7 months or years or something like that. And when he comes back, colonization has started to happen in a slow path, and so he starts to see his home village shift and change from what it used to be into this different idea, whether it's people wanting to explore this European culture that came down or stay within it, and it just has the clash of ideas. So it's interesting to see it that way. It, I believe, gave its message better than 100 Years of Solitude, so I'll give it that. Deep, grow strong, I shall prevail. I believe in you, sand. Woo! Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. This is my first Brandon Sanderson book, and I fear it may be the last Brandon Sanderson book. I did not like it. I'm really going to need Mr. Brandon Sanderson to stop describing a a woman's chest as her breast and not doing the same for men. Just call it a chest all the time. I'm gonna need you to really stop commenting about women's chests, my guy. Just write normally. Just say chest, please. Stop talking about things like that. I don't know why you felt it's so important to add a ritual bathing scene every, like, 20 pages. It wasn't sexual. It was just uncomfortable for me. The world building was really cool. I will give him his world building credit. You saw two worlds. One was a world of, like, pseudo electricity by taking these magical power lines, I guess, and turning it into TV and water heating and lights and all this stuff, and it kind of made this, like, neon downtown deep city shrouded in, like, blackened shadow and whatever, and there's nightmares coming out of there, and there's the night watch or whatever they called it, with a whole bunch of people who, if you, like, paint on a canvas while you're looking at a nightmare and, like, morph it, you can change the nightmare into the painting and turn it in and kill the nightmare, basically. Cool, whatever. On the other world, it's super sun, scorching hot. Everything burns. The hot is, or the floor is super hot. Plants rise to evade that. Whatever. I'm going to crash out if the narrator says, "Oh, this is rice," but they don't call it rice. But I'm going to call it rice because that makes it easier for you to understand. Oh, this isn't XYZ. It's actually this. But I'm going to call it XYZ because you don't know what this is. I'm going to strangle you. I'm going to feel your pulse pass through all 10 of my fingers in Minecraft. I hated the narrator so much because the entire time, neither of the main characters were the narrator. It was never in their point of view. It was some omniscient kind of guy's point of view writing about it. And he's the biggest dickhead, and he was super annoying, and it was just very weird. The plot was minimal and boring. I didn't care about anything there. But the world building was sick. Shishinu Ball Lightning. I love. This is one of my favorite authors. Xixin Liu is a engineer in China, and in, like, 2001 to 2008, he felt inspired and wrote, like, 9 books. One of them, The Dark Forest, is my favorite, with my favorite character as well, Lu Ji. Ball Lightning is a completely separate story from that trilogy. Just talks about the natural phenomenon of ball lightning that is an observable, unknown phenomenon. Basically, a little sphere of lightning that can, like, pass through walls and weirdly incinerate things. But he does a whole bunch of math in his books, but makes it interesting for me. I love the math. I love the physics. I love how he does that stuff. I like the character. He felt like you were growing with him. In like the middle part, he got a little too mathy. He got a little too into experiments and trials and errors over and over and over and over again. But it redeemed itself in the end. I thought it was well written. I thought it was good. Aha! August Kitko and the mechas from space. I stopped reading after like 10 pages. It became very apparent that it was a hot, heavy romance science fiction. And that's just not something I want from a book. I didn't know that that was what the book was, and so I stopped reading it. This is not to say that the book is bad, it's just to say that it's not in my genre. I don't like reading traditional romance books. The Employees. I would put it there. By Olga Dead again. The Employees by Olga Ravin, I think. Very cool book. It's the most unique book I've read and seen written because it's about 90 pages, and each page or so is a new log interview. You never get who's taking the interview down, but you know it's some person. Humans and humanoids all come in and talk to this lady, express their feelings. It starts in day one ish, and it's about some spaceship floating around that has picked up a whole bunch of anomalous objects. And it's about these humans and humanoids. It never describes what the humanoids are. I assume they're robots or like things that look like humans, but it never goes into that. And I appreciate that. It reads like a set of logs that you would find in a video game describing previous events. Like a spaceship crashed and you're exploring this enormous spaceship station or whatever, and you're finding this guy's log and describes his account and this guy's log. But it's all just interesting perspectives on these odd SCP like objects. And you see how, as the days go on, these objects affect them more and more, and everyone's being driven into madness. And it was such an interesting concept. And I thought it was very well executed. Remarkably Bright Creatures. Surprisingly good. It was wholesome. It was cozy. Not my normal thing. I like weirdness. I like dread. I like depressing stuff. And this one's just nice. It's about a little old lady working at an aquarium. Her son died like 30 years ago. And she's besties with an octopus. And it's about her and this octopus slowly piecing together that, or like where her son is, or like what happened to him. It's good. I'd recommend it. There's not much more I can say. I finished the book. I'm like, yep, that was nice. It's very much like a mom-in-law kind of book. She's best friends with an octopus. Marcellus, I think his name is. The octopus right here. And our last real book, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I don't know how to rate this book, as we previously discussed. I've sat on it, I mulled it over. With everything I read, what I try to get, for the most part, we read for entertainment. Whether it's we like to learn and we're entertained by learning. This does not feel like an entertainment kind of book. This feels like I have witnessed someone else's life. And I have seen the horrors that has happened in their life along with the ups and the downs. I have witnessed this dystopian reality that this person has to live in. And it feels raw and visceral, although it's not passionate because the main character is very at terms with the terrible things happening to them. And so it makes you yearn for them to have a more livable life. It's so well written. Any other author or so could not take this plot line of just this woman's life and make it interesting. Because there is no story. There is no plot. It's just this person aging and experiencing this unfortunate life she has to live. And it's exceptional. I would never read it again. And maybe I would read it again. I would have a hard time recommending it to anyone who just wants to have a nice story, finish it, move on to the next. it's something that kind of changes your perspective. And for that it's great. But I will not be reading it. How'd you come across this book? I've got a friend who told me to. I come to him for a lot of books, and he leans to the more literary fiction side while still partaking in like graphic novels and manga and nice fun things. But he prefers that stuff that really makes you think and change your mind over, like alter your mind over everything else. And so he told me to read that because it's his favorite book. And I'm very happy that he told me to because I thought it was exceptional. I thought it was great. I'm very happy I read it. And I think it will stick with me for a while. And now on to the manga. All the manga you see here is either series that I have finished, like Kaguya, or they are one shots, like Look Back, where it's only a single volume. And we'll get it going. 5 centimeters per second. It's about a little boy going in school, and some girl has transferred, and they become friends because they're both used to having to move all over the place for their parents' occupation, and they bond. And eventually, one of them moves away, and they write letters to each other, and it's, without a lot of spoilers, it's such a book of yearning. It's such a, my happiness is somewhere else. And I'm so obsessed with this. I declared that this person I will be happy with is the only person, and I can't be happy any time else. They're the only thing that I can do. And I failed because I can't be with them. And it's this locking yourself out of other experiences and other joys and ruining your own life because you think there's only one way to be happy. And how you affect other people because of that. So I thought it was well. I thought it was good. I thought, oh man, I was left with a certain emptiness, which is a good sign. Never let me go left me with a certain emptiness. What do you call this trash left me with a certain emptiness? Which we remember from my PowerPoint as well. I felt myself connected with this character because it's, relatable in a sense of a way. It's everyone has their own ideas of how they're supposed to be happy. And it's just coming to terms and acceptance with failure. And that sometimes it's okay. People and experiences can be temporary in your life, and it's important that you cherish them for what they were and be happy that you had them. But it's good to let them go. You have the rest of your life to live, and you're only going to harm yourself if you keep holding on to that. And that's pretty much exactly the kind of story that I like. Just you talking about it makes me want to uncontrollably sob. Yeah. And it was good. I wish we got more time with the main character, though. I think the isolation the reader feels is from him is intentional. I think so, too. I think there's some really clever... I hope there's some really clever writing techniques that this mangaka is doing. Uh, that's it. I like they've done a good job. if it's intentional. Though sometimes with art and whatnot, viewers have a tendency to apply different perspectives that the author didn't have onto things, which I think is another piece of art. How the reader interprets a piece of art is no less important than how the author intended it to be interpreted. And so, however, it's whatever it means to you. Yeah, I know, I do keep being silenced. Whatever it means to you is all it has to mean. And so, I'm going to assume it was purposeful. Uh, there still was some things that I didn't care for it in. There were some characters I really didn't care about in their presence. They served their purpose, but uh, I think they could have been improved for sure. There is room for improvement here, but I think it's a great story. I'm tied. I don't think anything is going to get higher in the 7 category than this one. Kaguya, Love is War. This is a 28 book long series. It's got 3 seasons of an anime and a movie and another movie on its way. It's by Aka Akasaka, who has a habit of making really funny and slice of life things turn real dark and deep real quick, and I appreciate that. He's the same guy who did Oshinoko, which has that same exact effect. But I like the depth of all the characters. I like how a lot of them have their dynamics. The last arc I really didn't care about because it got a little too much. A little too like out of the slice of life away and got a little more like thriller esque and like too dramatic. I didn't care for it then. I wish they just went back to the school. But I thought it was good. I thought it was cute. I think it's one of the best rom coms that there are. And so I will place it right there. All the characters get developed, and I'm sure you'll eventually like them. Before You Go Extinct, the penguin one. It starts with the penguin shooting another penguin in the head. I recommended this one. That person then read it and then recommends it to other people. But they have a partiality to reincarnation type stories. I didn't necessarily like it. I think I'd probably put a year. Because it felt like, 5 centimeters per second. That's along your artistic side of things. I like it's an it's heavy. It's impactful and meaningful. This one is the same, but it definitely shoehorns it in. It's far more obvious with what it's doing. Rather than just trying to tell a good story, it's really trying to make sure that you know that it's about learning to like life, that to learning to appreciate the little things in life. It's really making sure that you know that's what this is about. While 5 centimeters per second is a little more elusive to it, it's a little more hidden about it. It's describing, it's showing me what life without cherishing the things in it. Before You Go Extinct is telling me this is what happens when you don't cherish things in life. I'm like, okay, cool. Whatever. I don't particularly really care about a single character in here. It's fine. The story's fine. The characters are fine. That's it. It's just someone trying to be extra. I wholeheartedly agree in I Have No Mouth. I saw Ellen in a different way than she was intended. When I was reading, I saw Ted as an unreliable narrator, but then learned that the author just hates women. Well, how about that? I still love the book though because I can look at it in that way. Exactly. Art has is intended to be viewed in different ways. One cannot tell you how to view art. I think Before You Go Extinct would have been better if it went in the opposite order. Perhaps. If it was like starting with how this person appreciated life. I can see that. Though I need them to be less upfront about it. Of just absolutely, yep, bang, 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 bang. This is what this is all about. Have it shoved in your face. Be a little smarter about it. Be a little more tactful. Goodbye, Ari. Yeah. I don't cry at books. I feel an emptiness, as I said earlier. I cried in Goodbye, Ari. And it was like, it's like the sudden instant sob that lasts for like 4 seconds, and then I go back. And it's just. And there's definitely some personal issues with that one. There's definitely my own experiences that I've had that influence that. And while I try to be as unbiased as possible and try to look at things from lenses of if I were not related or connected to this character, how would it be? But with Goodbye Air, I don't think I can do that. It's by Fujimoto, the same guy who did Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man and Look Back. And he just has a way with writing to make something so serious, so comedic at the same time, so heavy and light. I will not stop thinking about Goodbye Ari. And it just alters the way you change. The way you see things. I cannot. I don't know, man. It's tough. Yep. Opening up with the brutality that it did to set up would be so different than what it ended up being. It went from genocide to I guess I should love life. Yeah. It definitely did feel just very sudden. I didn't see enough character growth in Before You Go Extinct. I think the pace of his journey from hatred of life to love of life would work better as a Descendant Madness. I agree. I think that could work better in that. I want to eat your pancreas. I want to watch a movie for this because it has animation that is gorge and also makes them not look like middle schoolers, which is like the worst part of this. And the art is kind of mid. I'm not putting this here, I'm just setting it there for the time being. Insane that the art of war is right next to 5 centimeters per second in Battle Royale. I liked I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. I have a little more personal connection to that one as well. It's of someone dying of or the main character is dying of like pancreatic cancer, I think. And she is writing. They were middle schoolers though. But I don't want to see middle schoolers go through that kind of pain, man. She's dying of pancreatic cancer and she's writing in a journal of her life and coming to terms with it. I will rate it higher. I'm setting it there for the time being. She's coming to terms with life and living, and how that she is going to die, and he oh, another Didge. And he knows it, and he's the only one, and he doesn't treat her any differently because of it. And so she can be open and upfront with it and be more loose with everything, and it's about them being better friends and going along in certain things and whatnot. I can't go too deep into it, but it was heavy. It hurt. That left me with an emptiness. I was like, man, I can't. I don't know what I'm gonna read after this because it's going to be affected by what I just read. I read that in a single day because I was addicted to it. Probably there, honestly. And it was so tragic and so harmful, but also really connecting. I felt. Oh man. I. hmm. Give me a moment. I'm processing. It feels very modern Shakespeare in its tragedy nature. It feels very like Romeo, Juliet. They fall in love. They can't be in love. He dies. She don't. Whatever. It feels. Why do we like Shakespeare so much? That's a good question. There is better stories out there, but it feels just so. The loss is incredibly strong. Well, with like 5 centimeters per second, loss is not the main theme. Loss is the main theme of I want to eat your pancreas, and the tragedy and the brutality and the hardship, the grief with grieving your own death, the slow burn into it, the lies that comes with it to make your friends happier, to make your friends not worry, the betrayal that you have to do, the sinking feeling that that takes on yourself, the hatred that friends could feel for that, not hatred for you, but just circumstances. It's a hard position to be in for anyone, and knowing that you're going to impact everyone else around you when you go is an even harder feeling. So to keep that preserved for as long as possible and not have everyone walk around eggshells or whatever. It captures a lot of raw emotions, and I truly respect it for it. It really feels true. And I love that for it. I don't, yeah, sure, I'll put it right there. I've had so many years of sitting with the story and thinking about it, and I really want to rant about it. You rant about it whenever you want. Obligatory mention that most of Shakespeare's plays were comedies, not really meant to be read but watched on stage. Yeah, that's true, I'm sure. I also just don't like comedies, so that doesn't really help me. I don't like a lot of haha joke all the time. Essence of Being a Muse. This is a 3-volume series about this girl who sucks at art and really wants to get into art school. And it's her endless fight against people who are doubting her, and her mom who just wants to have a normal job and set up her life for her, and This guy who doesn't really believe her, but is probably just doing it because he thinks she's cute or whatever. It's mediocre writing at best, mediocre art. I don't care about the main character. I don't care about any side characters. I thought it was incredibly boring. I only read the entire thing because I bought the entire thing at the same time. Fire Punch. I love Fire Punch. I've had a lot of time to sit with that one. This is also by Fujimoto, and I love Fujimoto. Agni is the main character. We saw that Agni is one of my favorite characters in fiction. And if you want to talk about brutality and tragedy from that sand, there's Fire Punch. Fire Punch is brutal. It pulls no punches. It is awful. It is. You see the absolute depravity of humanity. The worst that humanity has to offer. The ugliest. It's just. It's so hard to read because of how depraved people are and how disgusting ideas can come from them. And yet to see an innocent esque life in it. Try to grow up, try to be something. And seeing yourself just constantly surrounded by destruction and trying to be maybe not necessarily a good person, but just to discover oneself, just to find any glimmer of happiness in a cold, unforgiving world. I thought it's great. I think it's wonderful. It's not the indomitable human spirit. It's just someone who was robbed of everything, trying to find happiness and failing. Look Back! Also Fujimoto. I didn't like this one as much as others. I thought the story was good. I thought the emotions were very laid out to bear and relatable, and talks of tragedies that you see on TV and whatnot, and having to connect and share with them. And it's got the weird Fujimoto flair of something's not right normally and it's a little bit off. There's your weird magical something, but just maybe I don't understand it. Maybe I haven't sat with it enough. Maybe I haven't like tried to read into it hard enough. But I just don't get it. I don't understand it as much as his other pieces. Gotta watch the Look Back movie. They did a lot of things. I just watched it the other week, or I think this past weekend, and I think the movie was actually better than the manga because of how they were able to animate things. The music and the sound pairing and the voice acting truly aided in its case. It made you feel more disturbed in those scenes. It made you feel more connected and loved in those in the early parts. I thought the movie was better in a great adaptation and better. Girl from the Other Side by Nagabe. It started strong and then lulled. It hit a plateau. And then it got a little bit better, and then it kind of plummeted down. That last bit I really didn't care for. It was pretty boring. It lost me. It was confusing. The other like the side characters were kind of better, and like the humanoid subplot was more interesting than the actual plot. And it felt like it took a long time to read, not because it was heavy. Another another dead one. Not because it was heavy, just had poor pacing. Look back, it wasn't as heavy as his other work, but it feels very real, especially in having to see a young girl struggling with feeling inferior to peers in the past. Yeah, I could relate to the darker and lighter bits. It's definitely a more grounded story. It's not as, oh shit. It's not as much of fantasy as his other ideas. And so it does become more relatable. And there is the multiple aspects to latch on to. There's the two characters that are the two sides of the same coin. And you have the main character writing manga, oftentimes not because they want to, just because they want to be better or to be praised. And finding their self worth in that praise, which is another kind of awful trait to have as a person. Not like to do to other people, but like being someone who can only get fulfillment from praise is awful for themselves. It's a sad world, and you see that clear in that character. And I can respect him to put a lot of raw emotion in there. I'm just not personally as drawn to it as his other works. I still think it's a lot better than a lot of other things, as we can see. I felt like the story from his life a lot more. Yeah, it was directly related to that time when I think it was the 2008 tsunami came in, destroyed a whole bunch of stuff, and he and a bus of 30 other volunteers went down to some area to clean up a whole bunch of the debris. And when they were finished, nothing looked different. It looked as if they were never there at all, and how his efforts were pointless. And the kind of just sad and depressed bus ride on the way back. So just that feeling of not having the control. And so I can see it's far more relatable for him to write that and for other people to experience similar lives. And lastly, what do you call this trash? We talked about it a little bit on the favorite stream. I really, really like it because it is on the lines of toxic codependency, and both, I'm going to put it here for the time being. Toxic codependencies both ways. Having to need someone to love in order to get fulfillment. You need someone to dedicate yourself to, but also being that person, needing someone to need you. And it sees both sides of those perspectives, along with a couple others, and as to why those came around. And it just feels real. It feels difficult and muddy and gross in the things that you do to love someone or be loved, even if you know the other person doesn't feel the same, is a level of tragedy that I like to see, and it's a kind of emotion that I see very often amongst a lot of people. Just needing to love someone and letting it consume you. And it's hard. And it disguises itself as this weird weird story. It disguises itself as something that's a little more romance adjacent instead of just being something a little more literary and thought provoking. Or maybe it's just my lens going too deep on something. But that's okay. I'll keep it that way. I'm content with having my lens be like that. I read this in a single sitting over the course of 3 hours, and I burned about 4 sticks of incense. I really liked the messaging. And I thought it was just. Oh, man. It was tough. It was hard to read and yet so addicting. But do I like it more than The Thief? I would probably read that more than The Thief, or reread that before I reread The Thief, because I don't ever reread things. I hate repeating things in my life. Rewatching movies, rewatching shows, replaying games, rereading books. So if I can reread something, it means a little bit more. The art was well drawn. The dialogue was good. The side characters were great. I liked the backstories to everyone. I like how you could see everyone ended up the way they did for certain reasons. It was just a little too freaky at times. Yeah, there it is. There's my books ranked. We have a little bit of a bell graph leaning a little bit higher on the upper end, which is good. I mean, it makes sense. You pick out and you choose books that you think you'll like. So most people will have higher, 6, 7, 8, 9. I love rereading and rewatching. It helps you get so much more out of the story. There are times where rereading or rewatching can help. The movie Tenet by Christopher Nolan with Robert Pattinson in it is one of those, because I had to reread that because I was confused in the first time and I needed to understand it, so I reread it and I was able to see things I didn't see before, and I appreciate that. And I think going back and rereading something can offer more of a clearer identity to what's going on in it. Although you lose that feeling you had. I'm chasing the feeling of unknown. I chase something new. Hence, one of my favorite movies, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Something about just having no idea what you're going into and chasing that feeling of uncertainty and difference and a new experience. And if I go into something knowing what's going to happen, I'm not going to like it as much. Each time I reread or rewatch again, or I see things and gain new perspectives. And I'm sure that's true. I'm 100% sure that is how it is. That's just not something that I like to. That's not why I read or watch things. No comfort book? No. Especially not an actual traditional book. Like, I could see maybe I could have a comfort manga. Though I don't think I've reread a manga yet. All the ones I have, I've read it once and I've put it onto my shelf again. The only thing that I have rewatched is when I rewatch things with Ash and make him watch it for the first time, so I get to see his side of things, or it's Neon Genesis because Neon Genesis deserves it. If I was going to reread any, it died. Guess what? It died again. If I was gonna reread anything, it would be Goodbye Harry, because of how. It's just I can't describe it. It's written too well. Yeah, add to the Dej count. Then why do I read books? J.R.R. Tolkien swears that he did not take inspiration from his time in World War II when writing Lord of the Rings. When it's so apparent that that's not true. No matter how much he thinks he did not add his experiences into the story, he did. Because that's what happens when you write something. Your subconsciousness takes hold and you write things that you don't intend to. Because you have a different perspective. What you think is normal is not someone else's normal. And his normal is altered by World War II. And so he will see evil a different way you see evil, and you will see redemption in a different way you see redemption. You'll see corruption and warfare and tragedy in different ways than others. And that's just what he thinks is normal, and he's able to write in a certain way because of that. And no matter how much the mind doesn't want to write something, the soul will write it. If it's to write something to overcome one's own grief or one's own feelings of depression or joy, it will come off on the page. I want to see every author's normal. I want to see what life they lived on the page. I want to see how they wrote and why they wrote. And experience their normals subconsciously in each new piece that they write. No matter how Fujimoto wants to write new stories, Look Back, Fire Punch, Goodbye Harry, Chainsaw Man, all of them share similarities because it's Fujimoto, because he writes things that are important to him. He will not be able to stop himself from writing in a certain way because that is how he views things. No matter how different you try to write, there will always be similarities. Like how you walk a different walk. I want to see it. I want to see what is important to all these people. I want to see what compelled them to write a book. I want to see what part of their soul they've left on the page because they believed it needed to be said. I want to see aspirations. I want to see someone's trauma be put out into a book. I want to see an experience. I want to see a life lived and the results of it. I love books in the form of art that they are. And it's just something that is amazing to see. You can see someone else's ideas. You can see what someone else thinks. You can, for a moment, glimpse how someone else thinks because they wrote this. They believe that the words that they put on the page should be that way for a reason. Now, whether I agree or not is not up to them, not up to anything else. It's just, I think how each person wants to write something is beautiful in its own right. All of these books I have written down and judged in my own lens. Each person wrote this book thinking it meant a little bit of something. Immediately subbing love the rodent thing. Thank you. Thank you, Vincent. Poetic right there. Meh. It's just something I like to see. There's a quote that I'm forgetting. And I will remember it later and I'll put it in the server. But there it is. There's our book roundup of the year. And I as low as I rated some of these, I'm still glad that I tried to read them. Or I did read them. Because at least it's another conversation I can have. Because I know people who really like Brandon Sanderson, and I know people who really like Yumi the Nightmare Painter. And they're just after different things than I am. Very cute, grumpy face. Thank you, my glorious artist Ayu created it for me. I don't know if they're still here or not. I hate to say it, Vincent. We came at a little bit of a at the end of things right now. But I will continue to yap about books and art and whatever in all future streams. I used to watch a whole bunch of movies. I think it was 2023. I watched 300 movies and I documented them. Yo, I never leave. There they are. I just haven't done it again. That's when I was really into my Warhammer painting, and I would watch the movies at the same time. But now I'm more a little bit on hand stuff. So, as for next week, I will have my both of my regular days open again. I'll be doing my Thursday night and my Saturday morning. Though I don't particularly know which one I'm going to choose to do or like what I'm going to put on those days, so I'll leave it up to you. I'll say what I would like to continue doing. You can choose from that. I was just scrolling and saw something interesting, so I decided to pop on by. Well, welcome. I'm glad you were able to get something interesting from it. I'm glad that you stopped by. Thank you for being interested. I watched 40 this year and felt accomplished for that. Hey, 40 is good. That's what, every 9 days? New movie. I respect it. I would just sometimes watch, most of the times I watched a movie every day. A lot of the times I skip days and just watch multiple movies other days. Come again next time, Vincent. We have fun here. We try. Satisfactory is the other poetic, I guess, one. Or I'll just yap endlessly into the abyss about things. But yes, next week I'll have my 2 slots open again, along with whatever Ash is wanting to do on Saturday. The next Saturday we have Crime Simulator tomorrow night. So I'm thinking we have the rest of Sekiro to do. we have the rest of Frostpunk to do. We have Satisfactory. We have Ghost of Tsushima. And I think that's it. So out of those 4 options, which 2 are you wanting to see next week? Satisfactory is goated. Because I think we're going to finish Frostpunk in the next stream. Sekiro, if I do it next, like the next stream will probably have to be the morning stream or the earlier stream. Ah, no, my headset died again. What was it? What was the other thing? Oh, Sekiro. If Sekiro is the morning one, I'm gonna try to finish it in the next bit because it's a lot of just boss rushing, but it will have to be the earlier option. It's too little Coke in the normal Frostpunk. Can you repeat the options? We've got Frostpunk. We have Sekiro. We have Ghost of Tsushima, and we have Satisfactory. Frostpunk. The people want Frostpunk. Well, and when? I don't know. We'll figure that out then. I'll see what my options are and I'll plan accordingly. Frostpunk with the snowman. Frostpunk. Everybody want the Frostpunk. I respect it. I'll make sure to have Frostpunk next week. Beyond Frostpunk. What do we want to see? Alright, let's go back to Frostpunk. The illusion of free will. Everything is Frostpunk. So I'll definitely have Frostpunk next week. Thursday or Saturday. Maybe I'll do a poll between the two. Frostpunk, but we want it with Coke. I will give you Coke if I can. I don't know if we have that option, though. I didn't see it in the tech tree so far. Maybe it'll change. Frostpunk Society collapse speedrun. Yeah, just get everyone high. Flappy Bird? Absolutely not. I hated that game when it came out. I'm so bad. Frostpunk Coke speedrun that. I mean, Coke was one of the first things that we did research. So it would take 10 seconds max. Exactly. That's how we broke this cycle in the last Frostpunk stream because it didn't start with Minecraft. I know. I haven't been able to do Minecraft in so long. Drunk Flappy Bird. No. Oh, I will be doing a doing a video here in a second because I will be gambling soon. And I did say before that I would gamble on New Year's Eve, but I think I have plans, unfortunately. So I'll be gambling prior to New Year's Eve. And hopefully getting that video out as soon as possible. Flappy Bird servers are down as far as I know. R.I.P. the Flappy Bird. What do we want the second game to be besides Frostpunk? We still have Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima and Satisfactory. As I chomp on this junior mint. have some reflecting to do. Stupid, can you repeat the options? I got fixated on Coke. Sekiri and Sekiro. Was the other one you want to finish? Sekiro would be the one that we would finish. So if it's Frostpunk and Sekiro, I'm going to do Frostpunk on Thursday, because that's the night. And then Sekiro Saturday morning. Junior Mint? I hardly know her, Mint. Alright, I'll see you next week. I'll see you tomorrow for Crime Simulator. And next week for Frostpunk and Sekiro. Probably 2 finales, technically. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Thank you all for coming. I hope to see you all again soon. Expect a Zenless video from me. And goodbye. Woo!